Greetings, one and all. The 2017 NHL All Stars Skills Competition took place at the Staples Center last night in Los Angeles. Now, the Staples Center is, of course, home to the Los Angeles Kings, and the All-Star Weekend brought the greatest active NHL players together in a fun-packed hockey event to prove which division has the greatest players for the events that they have. They also had a celebration of NHL 100 the night before, celebrating the top 100 players in NHL history. Some active players, Crosby, Kane, Taves, Ovechkin, also getting a nod in the top 100, which is pretty awesome, I would say. And yeah, so that was then. Then they moved on to the skills competition. Of course, the captains voted by us, the fans, and the players selected by the board, I guess. So the skills competition featured many different events pitting each division against each other, with the winning team of the skills competition overall choosing which team from the opposite conference they wish to play and when for the 3-on-3 competition later today. So let's take a look at the events in order, who took part, and who won each event, shall we? Well, the who took part bit, that was a bit difficult to do, because I was doing this as I was watching it. I was very much on it. I felt like a reporter here, folks. I was jotting down my notes as the skills competition was going on. I enjoyed the skills competition, looked at my iPad, wrote down the notes. It's brilliant. So we started with the challenge relay. Now, this featured many players from each division who compete in 5 different events within this one event. One-timers, 3 players one-timing with a passer. Passing, 1 player per division. Puck control, 1 player per division. Stick handling, 1 player per division. And goalie goals, 1 goalie per division. Now, each division from either conference went against each other in their round. The fastest time compared to the rival division in your conference wins, with the extra point going to the fastest time overall. So, the Central and the Pacific Division went up first. The Central Division managed to do the challenge relay in 1 minute 44.03 seconds, whilst the Pacific Division managed to do it in 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So the Central Division gained a point for the fastest time in the conference out of the Central and Pacific. Then the Atlantic and Metropolitan Division went up against each other. The Atlantic Division managed to do the challenge relay in 1 minute 39.69 seconds, but the Metropolitan Division managed to squeak past them with a time of 1 minute 21 seconds, 121.7 seconds, and they won a point for the fastest time in the conference and beat the Atlantic Division, and a bonus point for the fastest time overall. As you might have guessed, the Metropolitan Division and the Atlantic Division both faster than the other 2 divisions, so the Eastern Conference very much won the challenge relay there. Then we moved on to the 4-line challenge. This replaced the breakaway challenge for this year's skills competition. Breakaway challenge was very fun, a fan favourite event, but a lot of players were saying it was very difficult to come up with something new and original in order to bring to the breakaway event. So that's up to whoever, but they decided to bring in the 4-line challenge. So there were 4 players from each division. It would take 1 player at a time from each division, then to the next point, then to the next point. So the first set would have a player take 2 shots from the near blue line. If you hit each target, it would be 1 point. Then there would be 2 shots from centre ice. The lower target would amount to 1 point for each hit. The upper targets would amount to 3 points. Then there would be 2 shots from the far blue line. The lower target would get 1 point, and the upper targets would get 5 points. And 2 shots from the far goal line. 10 points for a forward or defenseman managing to hit the 5-hole gap. I think it was like a 10-inch gap, the 5-hole gap. And 20 for goalie scoring in the 5-hole. Now, the winning division gains 1 overall point. So, the Atlantic didn't get anything. They got no points. They did not manage to hit a single target. The Metropolitan Division, they got 1 point. They managed to hit 1 target. The Central Division, they got 1 point. They managed to hit 1 target. But the Pacific, Mike Smith pulled off the 20-point shot, and Brent Burns scored a upper target shot from centre ice, as the Pacific got 23 points in that event. Of course, it only gives them 1 overall point, which I think kind of sucked. But 23 overall points from that event. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Mike Smith's shot was the only interesting thing about that event, and it was reflected in the scores. I mean, apart from the 23 points that the Pacific got, 1.0 points. I think it's safe to say that this event really did not work. It's a hard event. It wasn't interesting to watch. Seeing everybody miss the net all the time, I could just watch like the New York Rangers to watch that happen, you know? Or like the New York Rangers from last year. That would be a better joke, considering they have one of the best goal scoring percentages in the league. But, I definitely say that it's back to the drawing board for next year's game. They need to have something different. Either bring back the breakaway challenge or just remove that event. That event was not interesting to watch. Mike Smith managed to scavenge some of the respect or some of the dignity from that event. I mean, that 20-point shot was absolutely amazing. Don't get me wrong. But I think also the rest of it was just so boring, that 4-line challenge. People were missing the net every single time. Then we had the accuracy shooting. Of course, accuracy shooting, a very popular one at the All Stars game. 4 targets, 1 in each corner of the goal. A player from each division takes part to take out all of the targets in as little time as possible, with there being 2 rounds. So 2 players from each division, they take it in turns. 2 players in each division get to take shots in the targets. Now, the record holder is Daniel Sedin, who finished it in 7.3 seconds in the 2011 All Stars game. So, between the Atlantic and the Metropolitan Division, the Atlantic Division won round 1 with a time of 15.97 seconds to the Metropolitan's 26.8 seconds. But the Metro won round 2 with a time of 10.73 seconds to 12.28 seconds. 12.28 seconds was Austin Matthews for the Atlantic Division. 10.73 seconds was Sidney Crosby of the Metropolitan Division. Are you surprised he won it? Not really. But however, 26.8 seconds, John Tavares, last year's winner of the accuracy shooting, managed to do it in 26 seconds. So the Metropolitan Division won round 2 of that and got a point, and they got a bonus point for the fastest time completed in 10.73 seconds. Now, with the Pacific and Central Division, the Pacific won the first round with a time of 15.64 seconds compared to the Central Division's 21.82 seconds. And then the Pacific Division managed to win it again with a time of 17.66 seconds to the Central's 18.95 seconds. So the Pacific won both rounds and get 2 points, whilst the Central Division get none. So the overall standings halfway through the competition, we're halfway through the skills competition. The Atlantic Division had 1 point. The Metropolitan Division had 4 points. The Pacific Division had 3 points. And the Central Division had 1 point. So the Metropolitan Division at this point is leading by 1 point on the Pacific Division. We then moved on to the fastest skater. So 1 person from each division takes part in skating around the outside, then the inside of their half of the rink against their divisional opponent. There were 2 rounds for each team, and then the fastest overall time would have the chance to beat Dylan Larkin's record that he established last year. So, the Atlantic Division managed to win against the Metropolitan Division in round 1. Kucherov managed to beat Cam Atkinson and got a point. The Central Division then won against the Pacific Division in round 2 to get the point. The Atlantic then once again won against the Metro Division in round 3 to get the point. And the Pacific won against the Central in round 4 to get the point. So the Metropolitan Division must have the slowest skaters. It was very close for some of them, but it was clear that the Atlantic Division was much better. However, McDavid was the fastest skater. Surprise, surprise. Are you shocked? Not really. Connor McDavid was the fastest skater and got the Pacific another point for the overall fastest time. However, he only posted a 13.310 time to try and break Dylan Larkin's record. Larkin's record holds up for at least another year of 13.172. It was very close. The only thing I would say is, I think Dylan Larkin could have potentially smashed that record if he hadn't have just gone in his race. Like, his race was last, so they should have given him a breather, I think. If he'd gone first in the competition, then had 3 other rounds to rest, I think he could have beaten that, could have got about 13 seconds flat, potentially. So I don't think that was very fair for Connor McDavid. I think he could have done that, but, he's an athlete. He's got to do what he can. We then moved on to the hardest shot competition. Now, 1 player at a time from each division, 2 rounds for each division, with the aim of, as you can expect, to post the hardest shot with a stationary puck into the net. It only counts if it goes into the net. If it goes wide or misses the net, you don't get the shot. So you get 2 shots each for each player, and another point for whoever gets the hardest shot, and I think also another point for whoever breaks the Dano Chara's record. That has not been broken yet. But Shea Weber, the current active player with the hardest shot, also competed in the competition last night. He's won it, I think, 2 or 3 times straight before last night. So in round 1, the Central won against the Pacific with Patrick Laine posting over 101 miles an hour with his shot. He got the point for the Central Division. Very impressive. I will add the second hardest shot out of the whole competition. The Metropolitan Division won against the Atlantic in round 2 to get the point. The Pacific won against the Central in round 3 to get the point. And the Atlantic won against the Metropolitan in round 4 to get the point. And they get the hardest shot in that round at 102, I think, 102.8 miles an hour was how it went. And surprise, surprise, it was Shea Weber. It was Alexander Ovechkin against Shea Weber. Surprise, surprise, Shea Weber, 102 miles an hour. It's no way near his fastest, but it was the fastest of the competition by about 1 mile an hour, which is pretty impressive. Now we moved on to the shootout. This is an interesting one. The team with the most points in each conference go against the team from the opposite conference in a shootout. The overall scores are reset, and 10 shooters from each division with 10 shooters from each division take a shootout shot, with each goal being worth a point. Each division also picks one player from the losing division as a consolation prize, with their goal worth 2 points, which is quite cool. The Metro and Atlantic tied with 5 points after the hardest shot competition, but the hardest shot was the decider, so the Atlantic matched up against the Pacific, who had 6 points overall over the Central's 3 points. So it was the Pacific Division versus the Atlantic Division. I think the hardest shot tiebreaker, absolutely ridiculous. It was obvious that Shea Weber was going to win it. I mean, Patrick Laine came close, but it was obvious that Shea Weber was going to win that competition, so they basically gave the shootout to the Atlantic Division. Considering the Metropolitan had been in the lead for the majority of the competition, I think that was kind of like, well, screw you, Metropolitan Division, which I don't think is very fair, but I'm not in charge of the All Stars game. So, the Atlantic Division managed to score 4 points with a goal coming from Sidney Crosby, giving them a 2 points on that shot as well. And the Pacific Division managed to score 1 point. Now, this was scored by Ryan Kessler's son. No Pacific NHL player scored in the shootout. Let's just add here, a 6-year-old kid scored more than the entire Pacific Division on Carey Price and Tuukka Rask. I'm not quite sure whether that's brilliant or really sad. Because, let's be honest, folks, like, Riker Kessler, I believe his name is, 6 years old. He actually scored a pretty decent goal as well. I mean, Carey Price kind of went a little bit easy on him, but he actually scored a pretty solid goal. That wasn't an easy shot to stop, as you can see by Carey Price letting it in. But no other Pacific player managed to score a goal. I mean, that's just a testament to the goaltending there, of course, but come on, Pacific Division. You've got Connor McDavid. You've got loads of guys there. What's the problem? But anyway, there you have it. The Atlantic Division won the shootout and therefore won the All-Star Skills competition overall. They had 1 point, like halfway through the competition, and they managed to win it. Comeback victory, of course. They chose to play in the second game against the Metropolitan Division today, I would assume, in the All-Stars 3-on-3 competition, with the Central playing the Pacific in the first game. So whoever wins against the Central and Pacific, whoever wins in the Atlantic and Metropolitan will play for the final. And the grand prize is $1 million split between the players, which I assume most people will be giving that to charity because they earn that in about a weekend anyway. But there you go. This was my roundup of the 2017 NHL All Star Skills Competition. What did you think about the skills competition? What did you think worked or didn't? Also, what happened to Vladimir Tarasenko? He was there, but he didn't do anything. Please let me know in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.